Most people think healing means fixing something that's wrong with them. But what if I told you that you were never broken? What if the anxiety, the drive, the overachieving, the people pleasing, the restlessness, what if it was all intelligence? What if your nervous system simply adapted to survive a world that didn't feel safe? This video is about inner child healing, nervous system regulation, and identity, not as the self help concepts, but as biology, neuroscience, spirituality, and truth. Because healing isn't about becoming somebody new, it's about remembering who you are before fear taught you who to be. Because you are not here to be fixed, you are here to be felt. When you hear the thing of, oh, love your inner child, oh, your inner child needs to feel safe, inner child concepts, the inner child is not imaginary and it's not poetic fluff. When people say healing your inner child or loving your inner child, they're talking about your nervous system, because the inner child is your subconscious mind and it's your early nervous system wiring. It is your emotional memory that is stored inside your body, because you are a mind, a body, and a soul. You have a physical body, you have the mental plane of things, and then you have the energetic, because you are a spiritual, energetic being having a human experience. And from a neuroscience perspective, this is crucial because from the age of 0 to 7, you are being programmed. You're being programmed about the beliefs of who you are, what the world is like, religion, politics. That's just the way it is. Making money is hard. Making money is easy. And this becomes your identity and your reality of which you view the lens of the world from. But it's also how you pick up subconscious affirming beliefs about yourself and about the world that then your nervous system remembers and stores, and your subconscious then operates by. And you might not even realize it. You might be very unaware of why you do the things that you do, or of why you believe the things that you believe, because by the age of 7, because from the age of 0 to 7, your brain is operating in theta brainwaves, the same state used in hypnosis, which means you weren't thinking as a child, you were absorbing everything. You were affirming beliefs, you were taking in the world, and you were saying, okay, this is what it means. So if you grew up in an environment that was stressed about money or that didn't have enough, if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up in a survival state, that is the subconscious beliefs you adopted, and that is the wiring in your nervous system that started to be programmed of, oh, I have to protect myself. That's where people pleasing comes in. That's where anxiety comes in. That's where all of these things of you're like, oh, well, because you were conditioned to live a certain way. And if you didn't feel safe growing up, if you had to manage your parents' emotions, and play the therapist for them because they were still a child in their nervous system that they did not heal, you were absorbing rather than observing their energy, and you took that in. And whether you realize it or not, you then created subconscious oaths of, oh, if I act like this, I won't be loved. If I act like this, I'm going to be shamed. And your nervous system's job is to keep you safe. That's your inner child, this subconscious mind. It's meant and designed and wired to keep you safe. So then after the age of 7, now you're an adult. Now you're wondering, why is this so hard for me? Why do I always self-sabotage with this? Why can't I make more money? I know that it's easy and I'm working really hard and I've got these new beliefs, but I still keep not being able to expand this capacity. But if your nervous system for holding money, because you grew up in poverty and you realized, oh, having money was dangerous, people would shame you for it. If your capacity is only this big and you have beliefs of, oh, I want to be a millionaire and I'm affirming this, but your cup to hold that is still small because you haven't learned to regulate your nervous system, that is where the self-sabotage comes in, because the nervous system doesn't feel safe receiving that abundance and only feels safe with the small cup. Because you absorbed as a child, your nervous system and your subconscious state absorbed, and it absorbed beliefs such as, I'm too much, I'm not safe, love has conditions, I must earn approval, I must work hard, I must not ask for too much, I must not beg for this, I need to be easy, I need to be quiet, I need to be this, and I need to be that in order to survive. And those beliefs didn't just stay in your thoughts, they became wired into your nervous system, of which then you operate and just go through your day by. So trauma isn't what has happened to you. Trauma is simply how your body learned to respond to circumstances and events that happened around you and then to you as a child. Because like I said, your nervous system has primarily one job: to keep you alive and keep you safe. That is its job. So when safety wasn't present, It learned to adapt. This is where the fight and flight, the freeze and fawn aspects come in, because fight becomes control, perfectionism, anger. Flight becomes anxiety, busyness, overthinking. Freeze becomes numbness, depression, and disassociation. And fawn becomes people pleasing and self abandonment. And here's the part that most people miss: your personality might actually be a coping strategy. What we call the old identity, this thing that you think you are and that you're identifying with, is often just the self you became to survive in the world that you were placed in. And this isn't weakness, this is intelligence. Because you are so wise, your body is so wise and powerful, your mind is literally the mind of a genius, your nervous system is that of a genius, it's highly intelligent and highly adaptable, it learned to adapt how to keep you safe, so that way you could stay alive. But survival strategies make terrible life strategies. And what do I mean by that? Well, personally, I know I used to think I grew up with a very conditional love aspect for my life. So I did. As an adult, I began to think that once I hit this number, I'll feel good. Once I start making this amount of money, I'll feel good. I thought once I hit 20K, I'd feel successful. Then once I hit 60K, then once I hit 100K. And every time I reached that number, the feeling that I was waiting for, this feeling of accomplishment and safety, it never stayed, because the goalpost kept moving. And here's the truth that nobody talks about with that. The goalpost moves when success is being used as a substitute for safety. Because again, that was the beliefs I began to affirm, is that if I got successful, if I did this, then I would be loved, and love equals safety, then I would be approved of, then I would be accepted of. But the truth is, people that don't approve of you will never approve of you. It doesn't matter if you become the best peach in the pile, there is still going to be somebody that hates peaches. And the sad reality of that is sometimes it might very well be the number one person that you're trying to gain their approval and love from might never give it to you. That parent, that friend, that spouse, that partner, that teacher, even your child as a parent, you might be trying to impress your child of, hey, look, I'm loving you and this and that. And they might be like, I want nothing to do with you. And that's not something to take personal. That's their own brokenness and their own unconsciousness and their own survival states and subconscious beliefs they've got going on in their dysregulated nervous system that they're operating by. And success has nothing to do with money. Money just becomes the most socially acceptable place to hide the real need of what your nervous system is seeking. It's an external validation aspect idea of safety and love and approval. Because what's actually happening with that is your nervous system learned early on that love, rest, peace, and approval had to be earned. And I say that because I speak from personal experience, because that was my reality. I believed that my rest had to be earned because as a child, anytime I would sit still, I would be shamed for it. Anytime I would read a fictional book or watch a movie, I would be shamed for it. So with that being said, I learned that I needed to earn my rest. I needed to earn my love because it was a conditional goalpost moving. The first time you get an A on your test, your spelling bee, your parents are over the moon for you as a child. But then the second time you do it, oh, that's really great, honey. The third time, oh, that's normal. And then when you don't hit that A, the fourth time, you feel what? Shame and guilt, because it's, oh, well, you've been doing it like this. And that's the brain as a child wiring this emotional safety of, oh, conditional success. I know personally, another way of conditional love is, for example, when I was a child, my dad looked at me before a soccer game and said, either you're going to score a goal tonight or you're going to be grounded. Well, I also was a goalkeeper. I don't know if you know soccer, but goalies aren't usually the ones scoring the goal. So now as a child, I'm freaking out about being punished. And I'm like, coach, you got to put me in. You got to put me in forward position so that way I can get down the field and score a goal, or else I'm going to be punished. And I don't want to be punished. And this is what goes on in dysfunctional homes. Homes that are tight on money. When you ask for something that you want, hey, can I have a new pair of shoes? Can I get this treat? And your parents are like, no, money doesn't grow on trees. Now your system's learning to regulate, oh, I can't ask for what I need. I need to be less than myself. I need to hide myself, and I need to be easy. And this then, as you get older, starts playing out in relationships and friendships and dynamics. And that's where you see really dysfunctional relationships with people. And you're like, why is this beautiful, amazing woman tolerating this abuse from a guy? Or why is this really kind-hearted gentleman tolerating this biatch of a woman? But what is happening is you will always tolerate the abuse from somebody else that is equal to or less than the abuse that you're giving yourself because of the beliefs that you have about yourself. And when you do see people in dysfunctional relationships, of these amazing women that just dim their light for a guy, it's because they're accepting breadcrumbs as love, because that is what they were conditioned to accept from their own parents as a child. Because what happened was the body internalized the belief in rule, in this like vow and oath that it made to itself of, I'll be okay once I prove myself. It's always my fault, you know? And that's where you see narcissist relationships, is they drain that person of their energy because they take their energy, because you didn't learn how to build this aurora or biofield, you know, the armor of God around you, so that way people's energy aren't affecting you. You let them be energy vampires because as a child, especially if you were a highly intuitive empath, you learned you had to manage and regulate everyone else's emotions around you, even if that meant them feeding off your energy so that way they would feel better about themselves. So you see these people get the life drained out of them because of these energy vampires that we like to call narcissists, which is just people who don't create their own life and energy from themselves. They just suck on other people for that life and energy. And we attach that rule of, once I'll be okay, once I prove myself, with money, success, validation, productivity, being chosen, not because those things are bad, but because the body is trying to feel safe. So you see, let's say a woman give everything to a man, get everything to her children, to the point she is so dead inside. She just looks like a shell of who she once was, because she's overextending, overgiving, seeking that validation and that love and acceptance from the people around her rather than from herself. So she's like, oh, if I just love him a little bit more, if I just love that inner child a little bit more in him, then he'll love me. Because that's what she learned from her parents. Because her parents probably had their own dysfunction. And from a neuroscience perspective, your nervous system does not respond to numbers. And that's also why the goalpost keeps moving. Of, once I make 20K a month, once I make 60K, once I hit 100K, then it'll be enough. And then you get there and you're like, it's not enough, because the nervous system doesn't respond to numbers. It responds to felt safety. So when you have a dysregulated nervous system, nothing you do externally will ever change what's going on internally, because you have to go inward. So if something outside of you is holding your joy, your peace, your love, your acceptance and approval, your I'm okay, I finally am safe feeling, the goalpost will always move, because safety doesn't live out there. Safety is a nervous system state in here. You don't stop chasing because you hit the right milestone. You stop chasing when your body no longer feels like it has to earn safety. Safety is not a bank account. It is not the number of subscribers you have. It is not the relationship you dream of, or the job that you want, or the future version of you. That is not safety. Trust me. Okay? I am a very high achiever, and I hit every single goal of what the perfect life that would make me feel safe would look like. I got the job, the relationship, the house. I was creating the life that I want, taking the trips that I want, making the money that I want, getting the likes and follows that I wanted on social media. I had it all, and I was not safe, and I was not happy, and I was the most miserable I had ever been, because I didn't work on the inside of here. I was still abandoning myself and still neglecting my inner child of the love that it so deeply craved and desired. And until the body feels safe now, it will keep outsourcing safety to the future. Oh, tomorrow, once I hit that job, once I get that relationship, once I have a grandchild, once this happens, once I retire, once I finally die and get to heaven, I'll be safe. No, I'm sorry. This is the wake-up call that you're probably waiting for. It won't. And you already know that deep down. You already know those things and mirages of an idea of fulfillment aren't going to fulfill you. And this is why manifestation without regulation does not work. This is why success without safety feels empty. And this is why people burn out right after they make it. Because the body never learned how to arrive. Because when you are resting in this ego state, okay, this unconscious, the sinful nature, the carnal mind, when you're resting in a performing identity, when you are performing rather than being present, when you are not living authentically in being, okay, right now, you will forever never feel enough. You will never feel true satisfaction and joy, because the ego also can only survive in the past and in the future. Because the only place that you truly exist in your fully expressive state, in the state of creation or manifesting, conscious thought paired with action, faith, and works, is right now. Because I am is the only place that the subconscious ever reads from, because time is a man-made illusion. It's why Chronos, okay, Saturn or El or Satan is the greatest enemy against God and against man, because time is the greatest enemy against man. It's the mythology expressing what goes on in the metaphysics. And until you get okay with being right here, fully now, and you're not trying to escape this moment, you're not trying to escape yourself because of those uncomfortable thoughts or emotions that are trying to rule you and plague you, you will not create a life that you love. And even the idea of creating a life that you love, you won't still love yourself. So you can have all the things that you thought would make you love your life, and you will still feel unloved. Because when you get right here in this present moment, this seat of I am, into the solar plexus, the core monad of your being, and you learn to integrate that shadow self with you and love yourself and love your life completely and fully and regulate your nervous system, you're not going to feel safe and you're not going to feel true peace. And this is where spirituality and neuroscience arrive and align beautifully. Because like I said earlier, you are an energetic being, okay? And with the charkas, you have your root chakra, which deals with survival. This root chakra governs safety, money, housing, belonging, and it is blocked by fear. And perfect love, though, casts out fear. Love for yourself, love for that inner child, regulating the nervous system. And when the root chakra is dysregulated, you're always bracing. You feel like something bad is coming. You believe once I have enough, I'll relax. And the belief isn't logical, it's biological. Because you're taken care of right now. You are alive. You probably have food in your stomach. Your bills are paid. You've got clothes on you. You're taken care of. You are safe. But this idea that you're not safe is only a belief that you just keep affirming. Just like the belief that you're lacking something or that you're without something. Because you're never without anything. You are connected to the source. You and God, this thing that you call God, life, is one. That is why life comes from you, because it sits on a throne in a temple not built with human hands. And when you are actually in this moment and you allow yourself to fully be safe and arrive and present in this moment, you realize that you lack no good thing. But this idea of lack, of this illusion of lack, of, oh, well, I'm without money, I have less money, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that. You're only creating an abundance of that illusion of lack. Because where there is a want, it will come. But when you need something, and you're like, oh, I need this, it's probably also why you fight so hard to get it and you struggle, because need is a sign of lack and scarcity and depletion, and it is a repellent energy. And if you're an energetic being and everything is made of energy, which it is, then the things that you want are also energy. And so you have to actually embody and rest in yourself, the feminine, because the feminine is what attracts what you want, okay? It's an attractive energy. And then the masculine is the expressional energy, the do energy. So you have to learn to embody yourself, to feel safe in your body. And most people don't, because again, their nervous system is dysregulated, so they don't feel safe. Which then takes me to the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra, the pleasure in receiving. The sacral chakra governs pleasure, joy, creativity, intimacy, receiving, and it's blocked by guilt. And when the sacral chakra is blocked, rest feels lazy, pleasure feels irresponsible, and receiving feels unsafe. So even then, when success does arrive to you, your body doesn't open to it. Because here's the truth. You cannot receive what your nervous system doesn't feel safe holding. And once safety is established at the root, your foundation, and pleasure is allowed into the sacral, energy naturally rises and you start to feel very powerful in your own energy. You start to gain that confidence. You start to begin creating a life that you love. And this isn't mystical. This isn't woo-woo teaching. This is biological. It is biological teachings, and a regulated nervous system restores upward flow. Because then after that, you go to the solar plexus chakra. This is your identity, your power, your self-trust, and it is blocked by shame. This is your monad. In metaphysics, it's called the monad. Christ in you, this conscious anointing, then comes to the throne, the seat of I am. I am is the name of God, Exodus 3:13. And the solar plexus governs self-worth, confidence, boundaries, decision-making, personal power. This is the chakra that asks, who am I allowed to be? And until you become conscious and you become aware of what's going on inside of you, and you take back the keys from the wicked lawyers, as Jesus said, and you unlock what the heck happens back here in your 90% of your brain, which is subconscious, it's just on autopilot, and it's governing and controlling you, it's mastering you until you become the master of your house, You will never create truly a life that you want easily and just flowing through embodiment. And you will always identify with things outside of yourself. Oh, I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm this. I'm that. I'm a teacher. I'm a CEO. And you will put limits to who you are and who you allow yourself to be. Because your natural state is just simply being. I am. I am who I am. I am that I am. And you allow yourself to flow and express yourself in any way, shape, or form. And creativity and love is the answer to all things. Agape love, and love is also the creation frequency when you look at the frequency charts of emotions. But when the solar plexus is blocked, you second guess yourself, you over explain, you shrink to avoid rejection, and you confuse humility with invisibility. And this is where your old identity lives. This I am of, oh, this is who I am. When you're from the age of 0 to 7, absorbing and affirming all these beliefs about who you are and who you have to be to the world around you. This is where the old identity, okay, that inner child that needs to be healed and loved and told it's safe to come out lives. And that's also where the beliefs of, I shouldn't take up space. I need permission. I'll be punished for being powerful. From a nervous system perspective, shame collapses your posture, it weakens your breath, it suppresses gut instinct, and it disconnects you from agency. This is why confidence can't be faked. Okay, this whole idea of fake it till you make it, confidence can't be faked because power is a felt sense. Your power and authority, your free will to think and act on your own initiative to create the life that you love is yours and yours alone until you outsource it and give it to somebody else. And anytime you worship a deity outside of yourself, you give your power to be saved to a graven image outside of yourself. Yes, I'm talking to religion right now. You will make false oaths of your limits of who you can be because religion says nobody's greater than Jesus. Jesus said, go and do greater things than I. That is not ego, that's assignment. But when the nervous system and that solar plexus is regulated, you trust your decisions, you stop outsourcing your authority, and you act without apology. New identity says, I don't need permission to exist fully. I don't need permission to take up space. I don't need permission to be who I want to be and do what I want to do because my life is my own, and that is my gift given to me by life itself. By Yahweh, the breath of life, that inner chi, that source of all things, by this thing you call God. Because then next comes the heart charka. And the heart charka is love and safety and connection, but it's blocked by grief. And I'm not talking about grief of always losing someone. A lot of times when we think of grief, we think of, oh, I lost an animal, or I lost a family member, or this. But grief is also, not honoring your own promises and vows to yourself when you aren't fully authentic. You grieve not taking up the space that you long to take up and do the things that you want to do. Grief is also the regret of not fully and confidently going to create a life you love. Grief is not getting the job that you want or a relationship or idea not working out. Grief is simply deep sorrow in yourself for a life unlived, for choices undone, for words unsaid. It's that deep sorrow of not living authentically to who you want to be. And the heart charka governs love, compassion, connection, and emotional safety. And when your heart charka is blocked, you protect instead of connect with people. You intellectualize your emotions. You fear loss before it happens. You're kind of a pessimist in that sense. And you keep love at arm's length. Because to love at all, in the words of C.S. Lewis, is to risk rejection and vulnerability and to have your heart deeply broken. And it's a human's worst fear to be fully known and not fully loved, but that is a risk you must be willing to take to be vulnerable. And it is never, ever a loss to fully and authentically love somebody because what you put out will always come back to you, even if it's not in the form that you expect. And I think sometimes people are like, no, because I love these people and they never loved me, so I didn't get that love back. But there's somebody else, I guarantee, that deeply loves you. There's an animal that unconditionally loves you. Because consciousness, everyone and everything is just consciousness, this thing we call God playing on an expression. That's why Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Because to love your neighbor is to love yourself. And maybe you loving that person, even though they couldn't meet you because of where they were in their unconsciousness, you loved them and you met them with that love of God, with that love of Christ. And you changed their life for the better. And now you have a dog that just is so obsessed with you and loves you despite anything you do, or even when you snap at it, because that's consciousness, than God giving you love back. Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas, if you split a piece of wood, I am there, and if you lift up a rock, I am there, expressing that consciousness, this thing we call God, is in everything, because there's one source above all, in all, and through all, and there is only the highest good of all things. And this dysregulation of the heart chakra often comes from abandonment, betrayal, loss, and conditional affection. The nervous system learned that love is dangerous, so the body armors the heart. Your heart becomes cold and waxed. And from a biological lens, chronic grief constricts breath, shallow breathing signals danger, and the vagus nerve system stays offline. But when the heart is regulated, breath deepens, presence expands, connection feels safe again, and the new identity says, I can love without losing myself. You learn to observe people's energies rather than absorbing their energy, because you realize you're not responsible for other people's energy, their emotional state, or their being. You are just called to love them in that authenticity, which then is the throat chakra, truth, expression, and voice, and it's blocked by lies, the lies that we tell ourselves. The throat chakra governs self-expression, truth, communication, and authenticity, but when the throat chakra is blocked, you silence yourself to keep the peace. You edit your truth. You feel tight when speaking. You're afraid of being misunderstood. And then you usually over yap or over communicate or over explain. And this is also the charka and the energy that is usually a silent vow to your mother. So when you are born, you have soul ties. You have these energetic soul ties to your parents because, they created you, kind of thing. And you came out of your mother, this portal, this energy womb, and you have a soul tie to your mother until you break it. And your throat chakra is usually an inner vow from the age of 0 to 7. You created not to speak up or contradict your mother or succeed past your mother, because then, you would not feel the love, especially if she was an insecure person. And so until you break that, you usually kind of don't speak up for what you want or don't speak your truth, because it's governed by that. And it's governed by the lies you tell yourself of, oh, if I speak up, they're going to be mad at me. If I speak what I actually need, they're going to shame me. If I actually become successful, they're going to, not love me. They're going to abandon me. I'm going to lose this familiarity of this family or this friend or this partner. And when the throat chakra is blocked, you silence yourself to keep the peace. You edit your truth. You feel tight when speaking, and you're afraid of being misunderstood. And this is often where childhood conditioning deeply shows up, of don't speak up, don't talk back, be quiet, don't upset anyone. And from a nervous system standpoint, fear tightens in the throat, suppresses expression, and traps emotion in the body. Because again, you are a mind, body, and soul. A lot of times, especially in Western medicine, we just look at the physical elements of the body. Oh, you have a cough. Okay, this is what it is. Here, take some cough medicine, put a Band-Aid on it. But in Eastern medicine, they also look at the spirit of your energy, and they also look at the mind of, okay, what beliefs do you have going on? What is going on in your energy field? What energy is being trapped? Coughing, angry thoughts left unspoken. What are you not trying to say? What piece of your truth are you holding back out of unspoken vows? What is going on here? Because unspoken truth becomes stored tension in your body. But when the throat is regulated, your voice stabilizes, your truth feels calm, not reactive, and you speak without needing to convince. The new identity says, my truth is safe to be spoken. And what my truth is simply what's right for you. And no parent, no teacher, no pastor, no friend can tell you what that inner voice says of, hey, this is what I need right now. Or you know what, I don't want to do that. Or I don't believe in that. And when you're afraid to speak your truth and afraid to upset the room, you keep quiet and you silence yourself. But every time you silence yourself, you abandon yourself. And every time you abandon yourself, you're basically stabbing that inner child, and your life force becomes more weak. Which then takes you to your third eye chakra. Jesus said, if the eye be single, the body be filled with light. And the third eye chakra governs your intuition, and it's blocked by illusions. And the third eye governs your insight, your intuition, your discernment, and your clarity. And this charka is not about being psychic, like, ooh, seeing things. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's about talking about seeing things clearly. You know what? This parent, even though I love them and I care for them, they are very toxic for me. It's about seeing clearly and not believing the illusions and the lies of, well, they're family. You just, you got to accept them. Or that person that tells you, I love you, as they're abandoning you and giving you breadcrumbs and keeping you in this toxic cycle. It's then to see clearly of, you know what? This is not what love is. This is breadcrumb affection to keep me starved, longing for your affection because I'm not loving and approving of myself. And when this third eye is blocked, you don't trust yourself. You look outside for answers. You confuse noise with truth, and you doubt your inner knowing. You open yourself up to the psychic plane of, hey, do you think I should date this person? Do you think I should buy this dress? Should I pierce my ears right now? Hey, what should I eat? You are abandoning and outsourcing your identity and your choices and your clarity to the psychic plane, which is the worst thing. As somebody who struggled with anxiety and self-doubt, that is the worst thing you can ever do, is open yourself up to the psychic plane. Don't do it. Just keep yourself in divine connection with the higher mind, okay? With your I am presence of what do I truly want? Because you already know what you want. Okay, you know if you want to buy the red dress or the blue dress. You don't need to ask, oh, hey, what do you guys think? You already know. You already know what you want to do. You already know if you want to cut your hair, if you should be dating that boy or not. Okay, you already know. So don't outsource your, hey, should I date this guy? What do you guys think? Do you think he's cute? How do you think he treats me? Because then the one friend who actually is very blind is like, no, that guy treats you like shit. He doesn't even open the door. Don't do it. The next friend is like, oh, I'm a dreamy romantic. Oh, you guys would look so cute together. And now you're getting both things, and now you're getting more confused and more overwhelmed because you're not trusting your own inner knowing. You know how you feel around that guy. You know when you sit with yourself of, when I think about this person, I'm around this person, does my body relax and feel safe, or does it kind of brace and kind of tense up? If it tenses up and you don't feel relaxed around that person, no, you don't want them, okay? As giving you advice from the psychic plane, even though you already know your advice, don't do it. Because from a neuroscience stance, chronic stress shuts down intuitive processing. When your nervous system is dysregulated and it's in survival mode, it's in a chronic stress mode. It's in fight or flight. Survival mode narrows your perception, and the brain prioritizes threat over insight. You can't access intuition. You can't access creativity. You can't access knowing, this right side of your mind, in a fight or flight state. But when it's regulated, perspective widens, intuition sharpens, and you respond instead of react. The new identity says, I trust my inner sight, because you realize life comes from you, not at you. You're not in survival mode being reactive to life. You know it comes from you. So, which then finally takes me to the crown charka in your nervous system of regulation. And that governs your thought of cosmic energy, the meaning, the unity, the trusting in life. And it's blocked by attachment. Attachment to external things, outsourcing your identity, and the crown charka governs meaning, purpose, connection to something greater, this source, this thing you call God, and the trust in life itself, because God is life. And this is where people try to start, but it's where you end. Most people are like, oh, I got to get my spiritual life great, and I got to get my life with God on track, but their whole nervous system is dysregulated. They haven't worked through the lying to themselves and the illusions that they believe. They haven't worked on their heart. They haven't worked on their identity. They haven't worked on their root, and they wonder why, they just burn out and just keep self-sabotaging, and they just, I try to do well, but then I burn out, and they go in circles and cycles, because that's what their nervous system and state of being has been trained to do. Because you cannot bypass the body and live here in the spiritual realm. In the crown charka, spiritual bypassing collapses without regulation to your energetic nervous system. And when it's blocked, you feel disconnected to life. You chase purpose, and you don't know what your purpose is instead of living from it. You fear surrender. You cling to outcomes. And from a nervous system perspective, attachment is the mind trying to control safety. Surrender only happens when the body feels safe enough to let go. And when regulated, trust replaces control, peace replaces striving, and purpose becomes embodied, not chased. And the new identity says, life is safe to trust. I truly trust God. I truly trust the universe, whatever terminology you relate to most. Because it's the full identity shift of integration, because old identity, this old nervous system, when it's disconnected and blocked, is built from fear. It's built from lack. It's built from scarcity and survival. It's reinforced by conditional love. But the new identity, creating and regulating your nervous system to create a new life and that you want to live, you have to let your old self die and take on a new self. It's built from safety. It's rooted in embodiment, and it's expressed naturally. You don't heal charka by charka. You heal by creating safely, and the system then realigns itself and balances itself out. Because ascension isn't leaving the body, it's inhabiting it fully. And when the nervous system is safe, energy flows, truth speaks, love opens, power stabilizes, and identity becomes embodied, because you were never meant to become somebody else. You are meant to fully embody everything that you already are. And you're meant to come home to yourself. This is your home. So how do we regulate the body? Body to identity. Well, you cannot think your new way into a new identity. Most people are like, oh, I'm doing all these affirmations and I'm thinking these positive thoughts about myself, yet I don't seem to be making any change, and I'm getting frustrated, and now I'm believing that like the law of attraction and the law of visibility and all these creative laws of the universe, they're just, hogwash and woo-woo of somebody just trying to steal my money, and you're getting really depressed, depleted, and pessimistic about life because you haven't figured out the bridge. And the bridge of that is signaling safety to the body, because you can't just think your new way into an identity. The mind and heart, this being, okay, your nervous system, that inner child, they have to be in alignment and in coherence. When the two are in alignment, that's when creation happens. When they're misaligned, the popes do that. That's actually, don't do that. You're signaling, you're cutting the mind and heart coherence. You're not going to trust yourself. Okay. You're not going to think for yourself on the matter. Don't do that. And this is a bottom-up healing. The body needs to be first. The brain needs to be second. But if you're in that carnal mind and you're just thinking first and you're operating from the intellect, and the intellect's great for multiplying ideas, but it will only ever create from the past. In order to create a new thing, you have to live by the spirit, which is the energy body. And regulation looks like slow breathing with long exhales. That's somatic breathing. A way to do that, especially if as somebody who struggled with anxiety, or when I create a new identity, or I didn't necessarily have a money block. Like I said, I could make 20, 60, 100K, like it was nothing, but then I would self-sabotage and lose it all on a bad business deal or this or that. And I would constantly play in that cycle because I had a visibility block. I didn't feel like it was safe for me to hold it. And until I learned how to hold it, that's when my true wealth started compounding, because I was afraid to be seen, because being seen meant I would be shamed and punished and hated, and I had abandonment issues. That was like the root of my core issues from my childhood, and so I didn't want to be abandoned. So I had to learn to regulate. You breathe in by 4, you hold for 2, and then you let out for 6, and then you repeat like, I am safe. It is safe for me to be seen. Whatever is that phrase, that inner child, what you long to hear, you need to tell it to yourself. People will love me for me, not what I have. I am allowed to succeed and grow. I am allowed to be happy. I definitely started to create an affirmed belief that I wasn't allowed to be happy, because anytime I was happy, my mother would shit on it, or the religious community I was a part of would shit on it. Oh, you need to be humble, you need to be content, those aspirations and dreams, that's a sin. No, your dreams are gifts to you. You need to run with those dreams, okay? So it does. It looks like slow breathing with long exhales, gentle movement, meditation. It's why Jesus taught meditation. It's why Buddha taught meditation. It's why Krishna taught meditation. Because when you meditate, you actually slow the mind down from thinking. You get into that fluid state of then expressing and allowing yourself to be. You learn to observe your thoughts and not actually think that that's what you're thinking. You start to control your mind and become aware. Christ, and you become conscious. And then you also learn to let your emotions pass, because your emotions aren't bad. You're allowed to feel and express your emotions. Just don't act in your emotions to hurt another person. So it's gentle movement. It's grounding in the present moment. Again, meditation, be still and know that I am God, not I was God or I will be God. I am present moment. Because when you're in meditation, the higher mind, this thing called Father Mind and Virgin Spirit, births Christ in you, this consciousness. And this pineal gland, which is known as your single eye or your third eye, the Egyptians often had a pine cone. It represented the pineal gland. Jacob said, I have seen God face to face. I shall name it pineal. That what happens is you have this clostridium that's white, okay, like a milky fluid. It goes down into the manger, and it's that thing that also kills cancer, regenerates your body, keeps you flowing and moving. And then once you crucify your senses and Christ rises back up, it turns into a gold fluid, which is the honey. In the Bible it says they'll go into the land of milk and honey, which is the right side of your mind. That's why Jesus said, cast your nets to the right side. It's why the door to the temple is on the right side, because right side is by the spirit. It's by the intuitive. It's by the creative. It's where you start to build that connection of just constantly then being present and in that conscious creative state to then create a life you want and create new beliefs easily within your mind. And it does. It goes back up. And this only happens of regulating a nervous system through meditation. Stop disassociating from being in the present moment. And most people, especially in our day and age, they disassociate an insane amount every chance they get. You got your phone. Whoop, okay, I'm on Instagram. Any single time I chance. People don't even like standing still waiting for food in a line anymore, just being present in the moment. or waiting for the bus, just being present in the moment. They have to be on their phone. They got to be checking Facebook and Instagram and all these things, because we're uncomfortable. We got to be listening to music so that way our mind can be elsewhere, because we haven't learned to regulate and be comfortable with ourselves. If you cannot sit here, they did a study that they found more people would rather be shocked by an electric chair than be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. But if you can't even sit still for 5 minutes, okay? Sit still for 5 minutes and actually just focus on like a spot on the ground and not think anything and actually allow yourself to comfortably feel present, that tells you got dysregulation going on in your body. And again, the body does learn to dysregulate as a child, but now as an adult, your mental health might not necessarily be your fault, but it is 100% your responsibility to stop being the victim and take accountability for your life and take accountability for your health of that inner child and to love that inner child. Stop blaming. Stop giving away your power. You are in control of you. So I know personally me, I disassociate a lot by watching movies back in the day because it was a way to get out of my shitty home life and just to believe that there was a different world, because I was a very imaginative child, but then that would get shit on. So I have to learn, as I regulated my nervous system, to not distract myself. And so even now, there's still times like when I get really up in my head as being a very flighty personality of like the air signs and just that imaginative and that dreaming and like going. I have to learn to pull my energy back into my body. And you can. A part of regulating your nervous system, especially when you're feeling like that overwhelmed and overstimulated, is pausing and then picturing like your energy. So like sometimes like I've gotten really intuitive. I can sense what color my aurora is. I can tell you if it's like purple or orange, depending on just the intuitive state. I will sense that color just all coming back into my body, into the core of who I am. And I'll just picture all of this energy coming back. I'll picture it like sinking down into my feet as I've learned to ground my nervous system and ground myself, my energy into my body. And I picture like from my knees to my feet as like cement blocks that keep me heavy. It's why if you are an Aquarius sign or like you've got another air sign in your system, you probably like having weighted blankets because you like that feeling of weight. It pulls you back down into your body. And these are all things for you just to look on and see for yourself on the matter. But I'm just explaining what I've had to do. Because you have to heal your body first and then your brain. Because once your body's safe, then it feels safe enough to start creating the thoughts and new belief systems that your brain is thinking. But if your brain's thinking all these affirmations of thoughts of like, oh, I'm rich and I'm this and I'm that, but the body hasn't learned to feel safe holding money, it hasn't learned to feel safe being seen with success, it won't create that state of being. And your thoughts and your emotions, okay, emotions is that emotional, that energetic frequency of the nervous system, that together then creates your state of being, which creates your personality, which is your personal reality. But if your state, heart and mind are incoherent and your emotions, your body doesn't feel safe and doesn't feel at peace with those new beliefs, you're not going to be able to manifest what you want. So it's grounding yourself in the present moment and placing a hand on your chest and on your stomach to orientate that it's safe. Part of also like meditating, some people will be like, oh, focus on a candle, as just to start helping them ground in the present moment before they learn to not just think anything. Another thing is feeling the energy vibrating in your toes and your fingers, and then feeling the energy of the atoms all up your arms and your body until your entire body, you can feel that energy. Because if you can't feel energy in a certain part of your body, that usually means there's a blockage there from somewhere in your life. And you have to learn to meditate and ground yourself to then think, okay, why don't I feel safe? And then usually, as you become more present and aware into the present moment, you ground yourself, then this inner knowing, this wisdom, Christ in you, this hope of glory, your gut, whatever terminology you want to use, the Holy Spirit, it will direct you to a moment in your life that as a child, you did not receive that love. And you'll probably have those traumatic events to your childhood. And when those memories come up, you need to then visualize sending like just a glowing beam of love back to that inner child and speaking to that child, hey, you're safe. And that starts to then straighten out your energy, because again, all your parallel lifetimes, all these quantum realities that are existing, all exist right now in this present moment. I know that's really hard to wrap your mind around when you first get into this and understanding and become consciously aware, but they do. So by sending love back to that child of like, for me, like I know one moment that I had to really heal was my 5th birthday, when everybody basically kind of forgot me on my birthday and just wanted my cousin's cake and not mine. That instituted that people didn't like me and that I kind of was forgotten and all this kind of stuff. I had to send love back to that child. And once I did that, I started feeling releasing in the body, because again, the body stores energy and emotions. And that's why some people get so sick, is because we've got all this energy being stored in our emotions 20, 30, 40 years. People that are obese, that's the body waiting on you to start feeling safe, because overweight just signals the body that inner child doesn't feel safe. So it just keeps putting on more layers to then feel safe around you. It's why some people, they work out and work out. They're like, I'm eating healthy and I'm working out at the gym for like an hour a day and I'm not losing any weight. It's because they haven't regulated their nervous system. But when your body does feel safe, the amygdala quiets, the prefrontal cortex comes online, this pineal gland, and creativity, choice, and intuition return. This is where identity actually changes. Again, when your mind and heart are in coherence, that inner child, the emotional, the body feel safe together, that is where creation happens, because you then can create a new state of being. And whatever state of being you have will be then the perception that your RES system trains and affirms and looks for opportunities or looks for things to complain on based on the beliefs and wiring you got going on. And that all happens through the inner child healing by reparenting. Because healing the inner child isn't reliving the trauma. Now, yes, you might have to go through those emotions. And that's another thing. You can't avoid the emotions. A lot of times we feel shame for feeling the emotions of guilt or anger or whatever it is from times in our life that we were hurt or abandoned or unseen. But you're supposed to just go through that. When you go through the Red Sea, that emotions, then it passes. But by you avoiding those emotions, you're just still keeping them stored in your body. Because healing the inner child isn't about reliving trauma. It is about updating your nervous system with presence. It's about becoming the adult your inner child needed in that moment. Again, when you think of memories, like when you start meditating, you'll be reminded of memories that are really painful to look at and think about because of when you were hurt or abandoned as a child. And now you need to be the adult that sends love to that child and give that child in that moment what it needed. Because the only moment that exists is right now. And you heal and give that child what it needs by saying things like, I'm here. You're safe now. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to rush. I know me, when I started buying the things that I wish I had as a kid, I felt a lot of guilt and shame. And I would have to regulate before I made that purchase of, no, it's okay to have what you want. It's okay to want nice things. You are completely accepting to have these things. These don't define who you are. And they don't make you less or more of a person, because I already love you and approve of you now. And I would have to regulate myself to then feel safe being seen, succeeding in the ways that I wanted to succeed, and make that inner child proud. And boundaries become an act of safety. Rest becomes medicine and play becomes regulation, because love isn't earned through explanation. Love is learned through experience. And the new identity doesn't hustle. It doesn't chase. It doesn't have to prove, because it is already I am. It creates from safety. I am already safe. I am already loved. I am already worthy. I am already enough. I'm already approved of. One of the ways to start your journey of regulating your inner child and your nervous system, this is a challenge for you. Go look in your bathroom mirror, and I want you to place your hand over your heart, and I want you to look yourself in the eye and say, I approve of you. I approve of you. I approve of you. I love you. Insert your name. So for me, it would be, I love you, Destiny Finn. I am so proud of you. You are safe. And I want you to do that until you feel comfortable doing it every single day. Because most people, they can't even do that. Most people, it takes them a solid half an hour to 45 minutes, and they're like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And that shows you right there, if you resist doing that, your inner child hasn't been regulated. You have a dysregulated nervous system, because you are abandoning yourself and you are not loving yourself. But you need to love the Lord your God with all the heart, soul, and mind. You need to love your neighbor as yourself. You need to love yourself. Love sets you free. Perfect love casts out fear, and the truth sets you free. And the truth of it is, you were made in the image of love. You are an embodiment of love, and you need to love yourself. And when you love yourself, and when you start to feel safe being loved and being an embodiment of love, your nervous system becomes regulated. And when it's regulated, confidence becomes calm, desire becomes clean, and joy becomes available. And this is the art of embodiment. This is the art of embodying love to then embrace your life fully and expressively in any way, shape, or form. And this is alignment, and this is power without force. Your old identity, your default identity, was built for survival in one way or another. But your new identity is built for expression. But you can only begin to express the life that you want to create, express that love and that joy and that fulfillment once your old identity is put to death and once you learn to regulate that inner child. Because art does not have to prove its worth. Art does not rush. Art simply responds to the environment that it's placed in. You were never chasing money. You were chasing the feeling of safety. You didn't know how to give yourself first. In the moment safety begins within you, the chase ends. The body exhales and creation becomes your natural state. Because you are not here to be fixed. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with the way that you are created. You just need to learn to re-regulate and reprogram the system you've got going on inside of you. Because you are here to be felt. You should feel safe feeling your emotions. You should feel safe expressing who you are in any way that it comes up. You want to wear heels with jeans every day? Do it. You want to wear punk rock clothes? Do it. You want to wear dresses and suits and nice clothes? Do it. You want to chop your hair or wear it long? Do it. You want to wear bougie fun makeup that's greens and purples? You want to wear no makeup? Do it. You want to become an artist or a teacher or a pastor or a pilot? Do it. The only person holding you back in the life that you love is you, because somewhere along the way you told yourself that I can't. And whether you think you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. And whatever happens up here will then happen out here in your personal reality. As above, so below. You need to regulate your nervous system. You need to love that inner child, and you need to stop shaming that inner child. You need to stop shaming that inner child. You need to stop feeling guilty, and you need to stop feeling fear. And that's the problem with a lot of religion. A lot of religion is built on shame. It is built on this thing that you are unworthy, that you're a sinner, that you need to be saved. Saved from what? Saved from the condemnation of yourself? Saved from the condemnation of people abusing you and telling you you're going to go to hell if you don't do what they say with your free will? That's what you need to be saved from. You don't need to be saved from anything but your own self, of hating yourself. God said, love my enemies, so I obeyed and loved myself. Because once you loved yourself, you realize, guess what? I was never a sinner, because sin is the Hebrew word shata. And shata just means to fall out of divine alignment, of which is your true nature. There is nothing wrong with you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are already in divine harmony and alignment. And the only one believing you aren't, the only one believing you are separate from this thing you call God, is yourself. The only one believing that there's something wrong with you, that you are a sinner, that you are a mistake, that you're unworthy, is yourself. Why are you believing that about yourself? Who are you bowing to? What deity and system are you bowing to and affirming an oath to outside of yourself to try to get your validation and worth from? Which person? What deity? What religion? What parent? What pastor? What group of people? Somebody who is confident in themselves, somebody who loves and affirms themselves, they're okay being alone, because they know they don't need to be liked by people to be approved of by people. And if you don't like me, that's okay, because I like me. I like what I do, and I know the work I'm doing is good and beautiful, because when you start affirming yourself and you regulate this inner child and you give yourself the freedom to express yourself in whatever shape, form of art that you long to create, and that is the realization that you are both the art and the artist of your life. And that is then when you say, okay, I love myself so much, from that outflow of my heart, I then love other people, and I fully accept other people because I fully love and accept myself. And now, how do I want to create? How do I want to raise up humanity's consciousness? How do I want to impact the world for greater good around me? How do I want to love people, to start casting out the fear in them? Because when you are sitting on a hill, when you are fully authentic and embodying this home, your body is your home. When you fully regulate that inner child and you love that inner child, you allow your light to be seen. You stop shaming yourself for being the beautiful light that you are. You become a city on a hill. And I don't know if you've ever been to a giant city. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been to Las Vegas, but when you're driving into Las Vegas from like Boulder City, it could be midnight and it feels like it's 4 a.m. with how bright that city is. That's who you're called to be. You're not called to be a little light that's under a bushel. You're not called to, oh, teehee, I'm not going to be too much. No, you're called to be a light. You're called to light up the entire city on a hill. You are called to be a lighthouse, because when you are authentic, when you love yourself, you give people permission to be authentic and love themselves. You are not changing the world or doing anybody any good not being authentic in who you are. You are not doing any good by not changing the world up here, because to change the world out here, it starts in here. It starts loving you. Before you can authentically love other people, you need to authentically love yourself. Because inauthentic people, they love the sinner but hate the sin. Oh yeah, I love you, but I don't love all these aspects of you. There's something wrong. You're so loved as long as you try to become somebody different than you are. But love does not require agreement. Love requires presence without an agenda. And the moment love is contingent on belief, on behavior, on identity, on repentance, on compliance, that is no longer love. That is simply acceptance with terms. That is a contract, not a communion. That is not a covenant, because a covenant of true love is being one with your true nature, which is your divinity inside of you, that God core, I am. What is the name of God? I am. What is the throne that you sit on, that solar plexus based on your identity? I am. And people change in environments of safety, not judgment. So when you say, oh, I love the sinner, but I hate the sin, that's judgment. There's terms and conditions to my love for you. But shame does not heal behavior. Fear does not awaken consciousness. And conditional belonging does not produce wholeness. Love that truly heals and changes the world. Love that truly heals and changes you. And love that truly heals and changes other people says you are safe with me as you are. And growth then can emerge from that safety. That is what Jesus taught. The genius of Jesus is that he was fully authentic in himself. He fully embodied being present, being the state of I and the Father are one, and that's what he calls you to do. And he was fully and authentically loving to other people because he fully loved and accepted himself, and therefore he could fully love and accept the divinity in every single person around him. Because he didn't see a sinner. He didn't see a prostitute. He didn't see this type of person. He says, those that are without sin, throw the first stone. And he who was without sin, he wasn't out of alignment anymore from his divine nature. He didn't throw the stone because he knows there's no shame in love. That perfect love sets you free, because real love, real truth says, I see you and I don't need you to be fixed or to fix yourself, and I don't need to fix you for you to stay. You're welcome here. And by your faith, you have been healed. Because when you truly love and accept people and you are truly present and authentic, you allow people to embrace being safe in that present moment where they don't have to fight or flight or fawn or be anything else but themselves in that moment. And you allow them to actually start seeing that they can become a new person. And by that faith, by that putting on an identity of them new selves, and by then the works they become and start to create a life that they love. But people need you to show up authentically yourself in 100% authentic agape love, 100% loving that inner child. You need to stop shaming. You need to stop blaming. You need to stop guilting. You need to stop fearing your own power, because you are art, and art is beautiful. It might not always be liked by everyone around you, but it is beautiful nonetheless. And it's also priceless. You can't put a price tag on art on it because everyone's view of that is completely different. But you know what? The artist who created that piece of art said, it is good. And as the source who created you, there's nothing wrong, and you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And now the one being a co-creator of your life, you need to look at yourself and say, wow, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. It is beautiful. Do I like myself? Do I love myself? Do I think I am good? Great, that's all the validation I need. Your inner child, this nervous system, is waiting to feel safe so it can come out and play, and it can dream, and it can vision, because a faith like a child is what gets you into the kingdom of heaven. Faith like a child envisions and dreams of a better humanity. Children don't need to be taught how to dream. They do. They take a stick and they turn it into a sword. They take a box and turn it into a spaceship. It's adults that need to be taught how to dream, because they've abandoned so much of themselves. They've abandoned and disconnected so much from that inner child, they don't know who they are. And maybe that's also why you struggle with purpose and feeling fulfilled with your life of, oh, what's my purpose? Go back to that inner child. You start knowing me, you would know the Father. I am the way, the truth, and the light. And that sets you free, okay? You are the light. I am is the name of God, single I. And when you get to know yourself, when you start to love yourself, when you start to regulate this inner child, you start seeing all of your gifts as beauty. And you're like, wow, I can create a life I love with these. But if you want to create a life you love, you got to stop creating with fear. You got to pick up new paintbrushes, and that shame, that fear, that guilt, that condemnation, that unworthiness, all of these self-doubt and over-explaining and people-pleasing and self-abandonment tools you've been trying to use to create a masterpiece, that ain't gonna cut it. You want to create a masterpiece of your life? You need to pick up love. You need to pick up joy. You need to pick up fulfillment. You need to pick up worthiness. You need to pick up belonging for yourself, approval for yourself. Pick up new art tools and now start creating a new life, because that's how you create a new state of being. So if I can challenge you with anything today, salute the divinity in yourself, because how you change the world is by radically loving one person every single day. And today, that person is you.